Hello again in this installment of Spiritual Wisdom. My name is Nicholas, and on my channel Spiritual Wisdom, I talk about witchcraft, Wicca, paganism, spell work, as well as magic, crystals and their magical properties, herbs, self-love, and so much more. Today I'm going to be talking about the sort of ethics of witchcraft, the morals and ethics of witchcraft. Now, witchcraft, because it's not a religion, it is a magical practice. Therefore, the individual studies spiritual practices. They study spiritual practices, traditions, spell work, ritual work, and include those certain practices into their life. There are different types of witchcraft. So different witches who follow a tradition, they may be certain that with a traditional form of witchcraft, there will be a structure and there will be a belief system based in that structure. For example, like Gardnerian witchcraft. So with Gerald Gardner, he is sort of a famous witch who made Wicca into the religion it is today. But even to this day, you get Gardnerian covens. So a Gardnerian witch would be part of a coven. A lot of the practice and a lot of the things Gerald Gardner done and his system of witchcraft, a Gardnerian witch would practice those systems and practices. The same with Alexandria in witchcraft, and Alexander was a member of Gerald Gardner's coven, but then he broke away from Gerald Gardner and made his own coven somewhere else, and he made his form of sort of witchcraft at the time. And so people who follow him would follow that type of witchcraft because he's dead now. People who follow his practice would follow the magical practices and systems that he brought forward. And both Gerald Gardner and Alexandrian witchcraft are beautiful. The only thing I would say is an eclectic witch. For a lot of us who are eclectic witches, we may find it hard to stick to one system, one way of doing things, because there are many ways of doing things. But when it comes to ethics, morals, what we believe to be right and wrong, there's a lot of freedom in being an eclectic witch. With green witchcraft, there's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of witchcraft paths where there's a lot of freedom, because witchcraft is one of those paths that doesn't have sort of ethics or morals. Because when you study witchcraft, you're studying magic, spiritual practices, different ways of doing magic, different spiritual and magical practices, and then you're including them into your life. When you choose to become a witch, I'd say witchcraft more chooses you because you're drawn to that path, but it's also a choice to study it and practice it. So as a witch, you're an artist because witchcraft is also an art, and you're deciding how you're going to add magic to your everyday life. What are your ethics and morals? So you might say, right, as an individual, I follow the right hand path. I use magic to benefit my life and to benefit the life of my family, the life of my friends, and the wider community. I would say that's sort of where my magical practice is, where I am at. Some people, their magical practice is like a moral grey area where they go, yeah, I'm all for benefiting myself, my family, my friends, and yes, I'm for helping the community, but they might do spells and curses on certain individuals who they think deserve it. For example, if someone's a rapist or pervert, an individual could, if someone is guilty of those acts or those things what I've just mentioned there, an individual may see that that's acceptable. An individual may see that that's acceptable in the magical community to curse someone like that. So that's a moral grey area. They may see someone, but that's acceptable to do that. And also there are some practitioners that follow the left-hand path, so they just use magic to benefit their own life. They just benefit to benefit their family's life. but their magic is a very selfish practice and just benefits them, and they don't care about harming others. Now that is, again, I'm not here to name and shame people's magical practice. I'm here to sort of on this platform to create a community to talk about different types of magic workings, and also just to, I respect other people's magical practice, because at the end of the day, being a witch is a very personal thing. That's how it's hard. If some if as someone Many people have wrote books on witchcraft, the main question they try and answer is what witchcraft is. And it's a hard question to answer, because you could write 13 different books. You could ask 13 different witches and you get 13 different answers, because witchcraft for every individual is a very personal journey, because it's one journey where you're studying different mythology, symbolism, and you're including spiritual energies and working with different magical energies, and everybody's practice is different. Some witches do divination, where they work with tarot, palmistry. They might use a crystal ball or a scrying thing, a scrying bowl or crystal ball. Some witches don't do divination. Some witches work with deities, some don't. Some work with spirits, some don't. It all depends. Some just work with their own energy and the energies of the earth to bring about changes in their life, or some just work with the energies of nature. Witchcraft is different for everyone. But what I'm mainly trying to do here is just say, when it comes to witchcraft ethics, I don't like terms like white witchcraft, being a white witch or black witch, or white magic, black magic, because they're very racist connotations, because magic is neither good nor bad. It's how you use it. So if your intention is to hurt someone or use it for bad, then ultimately that's a dark working. And that person, if they sometimes if people do darker workings, but the working's not done in haste or anger, and there's a good reason behind the working, then it may be justified. But if they do most light workings, you don't have to worry about consequences or things like that. Forgive the noise of the dogs and that around me. But I talk about a lot of things in my videos because I try to give as much information about witchcraft as possible, because witchcraft is such a beautiful subject. It's such a beautiful thing. There are many people who were going through a difficult... When it comes to media, the news, we hear about witchcraft, but we don't hear about the good things. We only hear about the bad. There's some people who were in a really dark place in their life. They were going down a very dark spiral, but witchcraft actually helped them take their power back, better their life, and look at life differently. And that's what witchcraft can do. And because there's no real... When you study witchcraft, it's not a religion. There's no set beliefs. There's no set moral ground with it. Wicca is a religion because most Wiccans follow the Wiccan Rede, and it harm none, do what you will. And then there's that belief, if you do darker workings, that energy will come back to you. Not all Wiccans follow the Wiccan Rede, but the majority of Wiccans do follow the Wiccan Rede as well. The majority. And then you get people like myself who... I would say I'm an eclectic Wiccan witch, so I do follow Wicca, but as I'm getting a lot older, I would say I'm more drawn to witchcraft, and I would say I would be more labelled to call myself an eclectic Wiccan witch. So that's where I'm getting more a sort of more eclectic pagan witch is more what I would say that's where my path is now, more going towards. Whereas Wicca, I still have an interest in it. If there's any books on Wicca, I will read books on Wicca, because that's where my path first started out with Wicca, being interested in Wicca. So Wicca was a good baseline for me, but I would say now in my life I'm not so much Wiccan. I don't really follow the Wiccan religion anymore, but I would say I'm more of an eclectic Wiccan witch. So I do still work with the god and goddess. I do deity work. So I would do deity work. I do that still as part of my practice. I do that. I still do deity work. I still celebrate the wheel of the year. So I honour the god and goddess. I still celebrate the wheel of the year. Work with the phases of the moon. So there's a lot of Wiccan practices I still do. But I'll talk more about my practice and where is that in a different video. But when I talk about witchcraft morals, it's more about like a love spell. There's some people in the magical community of that, you should never do a love spell on a specific person. You should never make a specific person fall in love with you. Now, I would say I am guilty of doing love spells when I was a young practitioner, new to magic and all that. Because I feel there's a lot of stuff you want to learn about before you do spells. When I was a beginner in magic, I done love spells on two different people because I loved these two different people and they came into my life at different times. But the spells didn't work. I just got lucky, I would say, like the first sort of girl I fell in love with, I loved her very much, and it was a beautiful relationship, but it was on and off, and but I was young and it was my first love, and usually when you're young, your first love doesn't work out, but it was still a beautiful relationship. And then as a few years went on in my life, I was still young, I was still discovering my sexuality. I met a man, I did fall in love. He was round about my age and I did fall in love with him as well. Did do some spells on him, they didn't work. But just as time went on, I got to find out he was, his sexuality was similar to mine. And then, a relationship sort of started up with him. And it was good at the time, but then there were complications between me and him. But that relationship sort of did end, and then we sort of just became friends type of thing. But my example of love spells would be, I would encourage you, if you're going to do a love spell, don't do it on a specific person. Ask the universe to bring a new lover into your life, and a new lover into your life who's got certain traits so that you find attractive, and a man who will treat you the way you deserve to be treated, and then that love spell will lead you to him or her, if you're the individual doing the spell. Because from my experience, I did do those love spells, and love spells can work, but if the love spells did work on those people they didn't, it would cause infatuation. That's what it would cause. Because a love spell wouldn't cause real love, it would just cause that person to be mad and infatuated with you. That's how a love spell on a specific person would be. And someone's will, your will is a very strong thing, and the universe, divinity, is giving you your will, and magically it's very hard to bend someone's will. It's not impossible, but it's very hard to do that. And some people have got the attitude with someone's will should never be bended. Some people have got that opinion. No matter, somebody shouldn't be punished spiritually, no matter what they've done. Some people have got that moral attitude, and some people will never use magic to inflict pain to another. That could be their morals. So everyone's morals are really different, and when you start out in witchcraft, it's good to study energy sensing, centering, grounding, cleansing, blessing, cleansing, grounding. It's good to, once you've done like grounding, it's good to study things like cleansing, blessing, consecrating, meditation, visualization. Those are a few beginner practices that are good to start out with, because those types of things will help you further on in your spell work and your magical practice. But it's also good to write down in your book of shadows, what are your spiritual beliefs? Do you believe in life after death? What do you believe happens to us after we die? Do you believe they are a god or a higher power? What are your beliefs? And also to ask yourself, what are your morals? What do you believe about magic? How do you believe magic should be used? And what do you believe about it? So that is the sort of things what I'm talking about, um, morals within witchcraft, because it's really up to you, the witch, what your morals are. And witchcraft is a very wise path because it's about honoring your wisdom. It's a path of being free, a path of knowledge and wisdom as well. Until the next, but this is me just sharing a few different things about my journey through witchcraft, my thoughts, my ideas, a little bit about the morals of witchcraft, because witchcraft is one of those traditions. It doesn't really come with morals because it's not a religion. It's up to you, the individual witch, to decide what your morals are, or if you follow a specific tradition of witchcraft, there may be certain morals to follow based on that specific structure or practice you're following. However, until the next installment of Spiritual Wisdom, may part, meet again. It's been lovely chatting with you, talking with you again. Blessed be. Have a great day or night wherever you may be. Until we meet again, blessed be.